Made it to Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning with Bishop on Air. I'm Greg Bishop. Good morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be sure to comment and interact with each other. Share this video. Apparently, I've gotten a few comments, people saying that I'm not popping up into their feed on YouTube, for instance. For whatever reason there may be, maybe I'm not catching the algorithm right, maybe my video thumbnails aren't what YouTube wants, I don't really know. Either way, be sure to like, subscribe, maybe that helps the algorithm, I guess. But a lot to tackle, including your take, all right? We'll get to the Discord channel. Be sure to go to bishoponair.com. Click on that Discord link, and you should be taken to the area where we're going to go ahead and put your calls as the staging area. So the stage is started. If you want to sound off, you can do so by simply going to bishoponair.com, click that Discord link, and join the staging area. We'll take your calls on whatever's on your mind eventually. So good morning to everybody in the chats live here. Everything from YouTube to X and Facebook, Mr. 27T morning. That's on X. You've got Johnny and Josh and William and Sergio and Chubby Guy Customs and David and Jorge and Joseph. I mean, it's incredible to see you guys in there each and every morning, so I really do appreciate that. Before we get into today in gun control, wanted to kind of highlight this. Pretty neat. We have landed on the moon. Odysseus from Intuitive Machines has a new home. Odysseus has landed. And this is actually a bit of the video that they published of the moment they got confirmation that they landed. Let's check this out.
All stations, this is Mission Director on IM-1. We're evaluating how we can refine that signal and dial in the pointing for our dishes. What we can confirm, without a doubt, is our equipment is on the surface of the moon, and we are transmitting. So, congratulations, IM team. We'll see how much more we can get from that.
So, they are transmitting, they say. So, obviously, Intuitive Machines, a private company that used SpaceX to launch a mission to the moon, an unmanned mission to the moon. But what's fascinating here is they do say on their Twitter that after troubleshooting communications, flight controllers have confirmed Odysseus is upright and starting to send data. Right now, we're working to download link the first images from the lunar surface. And while I was looking at that on Twitter, I was just looking at some of the replies, and somebody instantly replied, but they could broadcast a live feed without interruption 50 years ago, and you can't even send pictures quickly? It's an interesting take. So just wanted to put that out there. Pretty incredible news from the private exploration of getting back to the moon eventually. So we could get into the whole theory of what happened with the moon landing for real. Because one thing's interesting is if you guys have ever seen this mockumentary about the moon landing from 50 years ago. The mockumentary came out in like 2010 or something like that. But God, for the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. It was made by some mockumentary filmmakers from, I think, like the Netherlands or something. But it included voices like Donald Rumsfeld and even Stanley Kubrick's wife reading a script about faking the moon landing from 50 years ago. So Just fascinating. Anyways, all right, guys, it is Bishop on Air. I appreciate you being here each and every weekday morning. Stay tuned. We'll get into today in gun control next. Give you an update on what's going on across the country when it comes to gun control and lawsuits against various things all over the place. So stay tuned. That's next here with Bishop on Air. Don't forget, head over to bishoponair.com, click that Discord link, and join us in the Discord channel. The staging area is set, so we'll have that ready for you. We have at least one person in there right now preparing, so we'll get to your calls at the tail end. But first, we got to get to today in gun control. Stay tuned. Still no update from Illinois State Police on the number of registrations. Last updated numbers for those registering and telling Illinois State Police they have a banned item. We haven't seen any updates for the past 23 days. Still sitting there static. Also still static, the number of FOID card holders at 2,415,481. I'll see if they update that sometime today. Welcome in, Bishop on Air, each and every weekday morning hanging out with you. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Apparently, it really does help the algorithm, so you can help boost this channel's presence, especially if you live in Illinois. Be sure to share it with your Illinois friends and family, and also what, it could be those who moved out of the state, still interested in what's going on in Illinois. But today in gun control, no movement on the Southern District case challenging the state's gun and magazine ban. That's going to be heard with a status hearing coming up February 28th. That's still scheduled, where the plaintiffs' attorneys from the four groups that sued the state of Illinois over its gun and magazine ban implemented in January of 2023, they're moving forward on the merits. No more preliminary actions. They're getting to the meat and the potatoes of that case. So the plaintiff's attorneys are going to be telling Judge Stephen McGlynn in the Southern District on February 28th what kind of witnesses they want, what kind of evidence they want to present, and that case is going to be moving in an expeditious fashion, as Judge Stephen McGlynn said that he wanted to. So while we wait on that to continue further action, some of the other cases in Illinois really haven't seen much movement. Even the lawsuit challenging the state's firearms liability law, the last filing in that was early December, so we haven't seen any movement there either. But while we're waiting on all of that, a lot of stuff happening across the country, and including in the world of memes. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Firearm Policy Coalition has. And again, if you don't follow them on social media, I would encourage you to, because they have this meme update, and it shows a meme face saying you don't need to carry a gun, just call the police. And it's got kind of the the strongman type of character with a firearm next to him. And then the next frame is a tweet from the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, and this happened here in Sangamon County as well in central Illinois. AT&T is experiencing nationwide outage, including 911. AT&T customers in Seminole County should call the non-emergency number, 407, gives the number, for emergencies until the issue is resolved. Even in Sangamon County, they did say that 911 was working while AT&T lines were down, but they had like 50 people call to test it and hang up, and they had to send law enforcement out to those individuals to make sure that whatever emergency there wasn't really an emergency. But back to the meme. So 911 was down for a moment. So just to refresh, the meme is you don't need to carry a gun, just call the police. And then what happens if you can't call the police? Well, somebody points out the Sigma male character says, LOL, F you, no. And he still has his firearm. So again, sometimes memes can convey a certain sentiment that comes across pretty easy. So interesting to see that. Also in gun control, some recalls on biometric gun safes. This is interesting. A lot of different recalls. You've got the government announcing a recall of these handgun safes that can work with biometrics. And there's several of them. It wasn't just this particular model of the safe gun safe. You've got a series of different gun safes that were recalled. So if you have one of those gun safes, be sure to check it and make sure if there's a recall that you get it replaced, because they say the biometric lock can fail and be opened by unauthorized users. Serious injury, hazard, and risk of death. Get replacement. Contact awsafeus.com. All right. So again, yeah, there's a myriad of different types of gun safes, right? There's ones that have the dial. There's ones that have the touchpad, and there's others that have biometric. Which one's best? I'll let you make that decision, but maybe the one that's the lowest tech is best, right? That way, you don't have to worry about batteries or electricity, and you can just focus on getting the right number in so you can quickly access your firearm in a safe manner when you need it. So wanted to pass that note along as well. But now let's get into legislative updates from across the country. Illinois State House, they're in session. This week they had the governor's State of the State speech. They're off next week, but then they're in practically every week through the end of May. And we'll see a lot of activity. How much will happen before the March 19th primary? It's a great question, but I assume that we'll probably not see a whole lot of heavy politicized activity unless it's meant to try to bolster somebody's campaign. So in Illinois, we haven't seen much movement on certain types of gun control or even Republican bills to relax gun restrictions in the state of Illinois. But you do have the Illinois Attorney General filing in cases across the country in various lawsuits supporting gun laws, like restricting people from where they can carry concealed carry in like Pennsylvania, for instance. The Illinois Attorney General filing briefs in support of those types of gun control laws. But elsewhere throughout the country, let's take a look at Firearms Policy Coalition. Again, on top of a lot of this, they say that the Louisiana Senate has passed the permitless carry bill, SB 1, by a vote of 28-10, and that bill now heads to the House for consideration. They say that Louisiana is one step closer to 28 permitless carry states. So 28 states in the state of 28 states in the United States could have permitless carry, constitutional carry in the United States. That's pretty incredible. So where the other states are, of course, you've got a lot of gun control laws that are being proposed and passed. Moving on to the next post here, USA Carry. They announced that concealed carry for teachers has advanced in West Virginia. The House votes yes on that school safety bill. And this is interesting. So concealed carry for teachers has been talked about and discussed for quite some time. And it's something that, after school shootings where innocent lives of students and teachers are lost at the hands of a lunatic, some people say, well, how about having certain types of teachers to actually be armed? Nobody would know who they are, but they could be armed and respond. So let's take a look at USA Carry in their reporting on this. The West Virginia House passed House Bill 4299, a bill that would significantly alter the landscape of school safety in the state, they say. Spearheaded by Delegate Smith, this legislation aims to authorize elementary and secondary school teachers to carry concealed firearms and to be designated the School Protection Officer, SPOs. The bill's passage represents a proactive approach to enhancing security measures in schools, recognizing the growing concern over school safety nationwide. So that's, according to USA Carry and their reporting on that. But in Chicago, the question of school safety came up yesterday or earlier this week with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, as Chicago Public Schools was looking to essentially get rid of school resource officers. Here's what Brandon Johnson had to say when asked about the measure to try to end having cops in schools in Chicago. Keep in mind, this is after you had 3 individuals under the age of 18 shot and killed just outside of 2 different high schools in the past month.
But do you think any replacement to SROs should be armed or unarmed? And how would a security guard apparatus have more accountability than the SROs?
Well, look, most of the schools have school security guards. The school that my children attend on the northwest side of Chicago, they have security guards there. As far as accountability is concerned, I mean, that's, things that are worked out within contracts. But hear me well, that community safety and public safety is the number one priority in the city of Chicago. What we have to do is provide a real holistic approach to creating an environment that does just that. And so resources will be available for local schools to make a decision of how they want those dollars to be distributed. And they also have to make sure, and I will do everything in my power to help build relationships where they don't exist, where those local police districts can still be engaged, whether it's drop-off, dismissal, all of those aspects of after-school events, activities, sports, and recreation, that it's going to require all aspects of government to participate. And so accountability is really going to come down to what we ultimately want to see in our schools, and that's a healthy, safe learning environment for all of our children. And I'm a big cheerleader of that.
So the mayor talking about getting rid of school resource officers and maybe allowing for schools to divert resources to other things that could, he says, holistically make schools safer. So regardless, I just wanted to add that in consideration to West Virginia, looking to allow for teachers to be armed in schools. Let's move on to some other things happening. We've seen this pop up from time to time in the conversation about Second Amendment rights and who is eligible to have those rights. A bill in Maryland would protect gun rights for pot users. And there's actually an ongoing federal case, I got to dip back into it, about whether or not nonviolent cannabis users still have a Second Amendment right. And listen, I've heard from the concerns of veterans of the armed services coming back to Illinois, getting a medical cannabis permit because they suffer from PTSD, and they find that cannabis helps alleviate some of those particular symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. But they worry that means they can't have their firearms. They're not violent. Now they're no longer in the military. Should they not be able to have a Second Amendment because they are a nonviolent user of cannabis? So this bill in Maryland, it would protect gun rights for pot users. Bearing Arms reporting that marijuana is still illegal on a federal level, and the DEA can still swoop in and arrest you for growing cannabis, no matter where you live, even if the state's legalized that. They go on to say, and now because it's legal, still illegal on a federal level, people who want to own guns while using it run into a bit of a conundrum. Do they give up their gun rights or do they risk it? In states where license is required, it's even a bigger issue, but in states like Maryland, it's enough of a problem. And a bill was just advanced out of the Maryland State Senate that seeks to address the issue. Maryland's Senate advanced a measure protecting the gun rights of medical marijuana patients in a 43-2 vote Tuesday. The bill is now heading to the House delegates for consideration. So I'd be interested to kind of get the take of some of the leadership here in Illinois on this particular issue, especially as they look to do more gun control. What about those who are using medicinal cannabis or even recreational cannabis? I mean, it's legal in the state of Illinois. So interesting debates to be had there. And obviously you have the high profile story of Hunter Biden, but that wasn't with pot. That was with crack cocaine. So regardless, interesting things to consider here. So a lot of different things happening with, trying to loosen gun laws in various states, from arming teachers to allowing for nonviolent pot users to have access to cannabis and still have a Second Amendment right. But then on the gun control side, you've got every town making this announcement on social media, saying Virginia lawmakers passed a slate of gun safety bills through their second chamber, including bills to prohibit ghost guns, which really is a political term. All that means is just unserialized firearms. And the ATF, from last I checked, to be honest, I didn't check it today, but last I checked, the ATF website clearly says you can build your own firearms just as long as they're for your own personal use. Now, if you want to transfer those to somebody, then it has to be serialized. So anyways, back to Everytown, the gun control group. They say that Virginia lawmakers passed a slate of, quote, gun safety bills through their second chamber yesterday, including bills to prohibit ghost guns, require secure gun storage, establish waiting periods, disarm domestic abusers, and more. And they say we will end gun violence in America. Gun violence, again, is another one of those kind of politically charged terms. The violence is not coming from the gun. It's not the gun. It's the criminal that's committing the violence. But regardless, again, just looking on the other side of the spectrum here. So a lot of different laws being proposed, being advanced in legislatures across the country. So we'll kind of monitor where some of these things land. But of course, when there are certain laws imposed, others who feel that their rights are being infringed upon, they're going to sue. And we had a case in Duncan v. Bonta out of California that dealt with gun control measures. And now you've got oral arguments that are going to be set in the case Duncan v. Bonta. And that's going to be March 19th in California. 9:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. So I think you're going to get a lot of activity around that time. Here in Illinois on March 19th, we're going to be focusing a lot on the election. It's primary election day. So we'll see how much we could dip into that particular oral argument that's going to be heard by the entire Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in Duncan v. Bonta. So another measure, just wanted to get this in front of you guys. And this is an interesting thing from the U.S. Congress and the House Freedom Caucus, sending a letter to House Speaker Johnson about the looming end of the country's budget. They've got a funding deadline before Congress leaves. You could see a government shutdown, a partial government shutdown. So the House Freedom Caucus sending a letter to Speaker Johnson trying to outline what's going on and as far as things they need to know about. And just to read off some of the things that they're looking for. They want to, and I'm going to try to get this a little bit bigger here so that we can all read it together. Open image in new tab. Let's zoom in. All right, that's good. Let me get to the next image here. Live to tape, folks. Thanks for being patient. Open image in new tab and zoom in. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's take a look at this letter. You've got the Freedom Caucus sending a letter to Speaker Mike Johnson about the looming deadline to fund the government. But they want to update on what's going on. And they also are requesting that provisions supported by the overwhelming majorities of Republicans and their constituents, they want language in any agreement that does a variety of things. One, for instance, they want to reduce Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' salary to zero. That's after the House went ahead and impeached him already. You've got defund the Pentagon's illegal abortion travel fund. You've got prohibition of funding for the implementation of gun registries and red flag laws. They also want to see defunding of the ATF's rules, such as the pistol brace ban and unconstitutional expansion of background checks. And a variety of other things here, including defunding gender transition surgeries or, quote, gender-affirming care paid for by tax dollars. The list goes on from there. Defunding Dr. Anthony Fauci's gain of function research, defunding DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion stuff. So a lot of different things that they're looking for, but interesting to see that they wanted to, of course, defund the planned implementation of gun registries and red flag laws and the ATF's pistol brace rule and other unconstitutional expansions of gun background checks. So just some of what's going on in the world of gun control across the country. Hopefully it's beneficial to get a lay of the land of sorts of what's going on with the Second Amendment, not just in Illinois, but across the country. So I really do appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. That was a long segment. Holy cow, jam-packed. Gotta love it. By the way, I do have my cable internet guy coming today. All right. He tells me it's going to be between 1 and 3 today. I had multiple drop-offs yesterday on the live show. And then throughout the day later on, I was working from home and had I was recording a podcast with somebody in Northern Illinois, and it dropped. So I told my wife she had a few more extra minutes in her afternoon, so she called the cable company. And yeah, that guy's coming between 1 and 3 today. I guess we'll see what happens, right? So we'll see. My upload speeds and my download speeds are fantastic. However, it just seems that somebody's going like flipping a switch every once in a while. When that switch is flipped, kaboom! You get a little bit of a screw up in the live broadcast. Jim, I appreciate that. Thanks for the tip there. So thumbs up. All right, let's get to the Discord channel here. And again, go to bishoponair.com and click on the Discord link. That'll hook you up and get you to where you need to be. And it can only happen when we're live, all right? So when we're live, that's when you make it happen. Get to bishoponair.com and click that Discord link. Or I believe the link at the bottom of the live video, it does have the proper link for you to get through and join us on Discord. So make that happen, all right? And that's coming up here next with your calls on Discord. Well, it's Friday. Opening it up for you to sound off on anything you want to sound off on. But you're only able to do it when we're live. Some of you are going to be watching this later on today, and we're not going to be live. But if you want to join us, just go to bishoponair.com, click that Discord link, and join us. We've got several people lined up in the Discord staging area. So we'll just, if you're in the staging area, I assume you want to sound off. So to do that, I'm going to invite you to speak. So who is this? Can T Design? Morning. You're in. What's going on? Hold on. Let me see if I've got this turned up here. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I got to unmute that tab. My apologies. And let's unmute that tab. And all right, now you should be able to get on loud and clear. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Greg. How's it going, brother?
You know, I'm good. I love being able to talk with people tuning in live. So what's up?
Yeah, man, that's outstanding. Hey, man, I just wanted to let you know, touch base with you, man. Warsaw turned me onto your show, I guess, a couple months ago, man. I've really been enjoying it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Word of mouth is the best word there could be, right? When I was in the food service industry, it was always a thing of, people, if they have a bad experience, they're going to tell 10 people, don't go there, right? But it really takes, awesome service to have somebody go and say, hey, check this out. This is a really good place to go. So I'm glad that Warsaw turned you on to it. That means I'm doing something right, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. I think watching your show, trying to keep up with stuff in Illinois, which I've got a channel where we're trying to keep up with stuff pretty much nationwide too, like Louisiana passing their constitutional carry through their Senate yesterday, which is awesome. So, that'll take off and go to the House, and then we try to pay attention to all the court cases and stuff too. So, man, I appreciate the information I get on your show.
Well, there's a lot going on, right? I mean, I at least get paid for this, right? My full-time gig has me tracking what's going on at the Illinois State House and tracking, say when a state law gets taken up in court, I'm tracking that. So, my full-time gig has me doing that. And I don't really have many other hobbies other than tracking this stuff. So even in my own time, like right now, I do this. So I take it that's a hobby of yours to track all of this and to get that information out?
Yeah, man. My channel actually started out going through a lot of gun laws, a lot of proposed gun laws, and actually taking like text to bills and editing them into the law so you could see how it would actually read, and then covering hearings in Congress and oral arguments coming through. So yeah. I'm deep into the end of it for sure.
Well, what's your channel? Where can people find that at?
Same as my screen name, man. C&T Designs.
C&T Designs. Okay, so it's not TD. It's C&T Designs. Fantastic.
Yeah,
well, awesome.
C&T Designs and Arm.
Awesome.
And man, we just appreciate everything you do, brother. We appreciate you keeping us informed.
Well, thank you so much. And when we open up the Discord and you're watching live, hopefully you jump back on. Really do appreciate that. All right. So he mentioned Warsaw Patriot, and Warsaw's in the staging area. So I'll go ahead and bring him up and have him jump in if he wants to sound off. So Warsaw, you have been invited to speak. If you want to go ahead and hop in there. Good morning. What's up, man?
Morning. Yeah, guys, Greg, I appreciate you keeping us informed, especially this past year with this whole gun ban in Illinois and other places, especially this country, man. We're in an election year, man. It's going to be a rough one, I'll tell you that, especially after getting through 2023.
Well, especially after the pandemic. Right. I mean, this is a presidential election year, which is, brings out the most people. And I think that watching all of this on a national level, there's a lot of interest. But I think people get lost when you start getting into the lower kind of levels of government that really impact their lives even more. Because keep in mind, looking at the
100%.
pandemic, right, you had the president of the United States at that time, Donald Trump, and his administration came out and said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? And they said, oh, it's going to be 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, they didn't have a directive forcing that, but the state governments who have much more impact on individuals' lives, they're the ones who made those decisions. But even on a more local level, it was county governments that were implementing things, restricting economic activity, telling kids they couldn't go to school. So I think hopefully, people realize just how much impact their local governments have on their lives. And that there is significant enough for, I hope, people to be more aware of what's going on. That's why I think reporting on what's going on at the Illinois State House on a macro level is extremely important, and they are elected as well. So while we're a lot of interest in what's going on at the federal level, there needs to be a lot of interest as well on the local level.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think people need to actually do history on their own states and their own local governments and what they can and can't do, because the state of Illinois, regardless of how people see it, yes, we're under Democratic leadership. Believe it or not, this is actually a good state. The only downside is it's always Chicago. It likes to ruin and thumb nose on what they can and can't do, especially when with the courts, like the Seventh Circuit, they always are thumbing their nose against the Supreme Court level. So I don't know, Greg. It's just like I said, it's just very interesting in what we're in right now.
Well, in the state of Illinois in particular, if you look at it in the geography of the country, it's not just shaped like a heart, but it really is like the heart of the country because we've got all 7 Class A railroads coming through here. We've got awesome farmland, access to ports, every major interstate, cross-sects the states. Transportation's huge. The logistics are huge. I mean, this state really is kind of the crossroads of the country. But I think, and I speculate, that also opens up for industries to be captured or industries to capture government or vice versa. And that can be a breeding ground for all kinds of corruption. So we've seen that play out in the state of Illinois. Warsaw, appreciate that. Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating election year. No question about it. Let's see if we can get... go ahead. One last word.
I said... Yeah, anytime, man. And I appreciate what you're doing, man. Keep continuing, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate what you're all doing.
Well, thank you for chiming in. Ratio has their hand up. Let's invite Ratio to speak. Ratio, got you pulled up here. So what's going on? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Bishop. Glad to be speaking with you. Last time we spoke, I mentioned my theory about how when you see these immigrants on street corners, like begging, trying to, get something to eat, and they got children with them. Yeah. Those children are for sale, but I'm not here to talk about that right now. I just want to get my election theory out there on paper, on record, and I'm glad that you guys brought it up in your segment with Warsaw. So, of course, we know that the convention is here in Chicago in August. Now, everybody's expecting a big announcement like Joe Biden stepping down. And a lot of people are saying it's going to be Gavin Newsom or, I don't know, somebody else. But my money is on Pritzker. Pritzker is running for president, and you heard it here first.
Well, it's been speculated for a long time that Pritzker's aiming for the White House. And yes, the convention is in Chicago for the Democrats in August. The Republicans are just north in Minneapolis in July. So the Republicans go first. Everything looks like it's going to be Donald Trump as the nominee, right? I think South Carolina goes to vote tomorrow, and that's where Nikki Haley is the main opponent, but whether or not she survives there, she says she's sticking it. What's going to happen with Biden? A great question. And all the speculation is, well, it could be Newsom coming in, and it could be Gretchen Whitmer, or it could be, J.B. Pritzker. But could it be a, president VP pick, say Newsom and J.B., or Newsom and Whitmer, or J.B. and Whitmer, or Whitmer and J.B.? All of these things, pure speculation, right? But there's a lot of time between now and August. And the decisions that are going to be made behind the closed doors, I guess we'll see them play out on stage in August when they're in Chicago. But it's not just what's going to be on stage that is going to be the focus. What's happening on the ground outside of the convention center is going to be a major focus as well, because there are very unhappy people in Chicagoland proper that are expected to make their voice heard. So that could throw a wrench in some things. Maybe it'll be what was that, 1968, where they had the violent riots outside the Democratic convention. Where was that at? Chicago. So is history going to repeat itself?
Definitely not. Who's there to protest the Democrats in Chicago? But listen, I just want to get to one more thing, and this is a kind of a public service announcement. Living here in Chicago and Chicagoland for close to 2 decades, something I found is nobody cares about Black people. Nobody cares, and yes, there's there's plenty of, not all, but most are they're morally corrupt, and that's because of their religious leaders, right? They don't lead them to God, they lead them to their father, the devil. So anyway, but that's just the whole, but just a small part of the public service announcement. Nobody cares about Black people. But thanks, Bishop, for having me on.
I appreciate the call. Well, and I think a lot of people in Chicago, in the Black community, getting more and more frustrated. We shared some of this from the city council hearing up in Chicago earlier this week. Here's just one Chicago resident upset about the treatment of the Black community, with all of the non-citizen migrants getting all kinds of free handouts and freebies.
Yeah, Black History Month, the American descendants of slavery. And I want you to know, Brandon Johnson, I understand what Breakmore's saying about we still on the plantation, but what you're looking at right now, this is what a free Negro look like. And I'm telling you, we're going to get our city back. We're going to stand for our people. We're going to get them out of our communities, because they don't deserve to be there. Anytime they can't give us 3 lousy minutes of their attention while we sit here and watch y'all get them all kind of money, you watch us. We Black out here, and we're going to handle our business. You watch that. I'm a free Black woman. This is how we get down.
So, clearly the frustration's mounting, and we'll see just how that plays out, especially with the, convention in Chicago in August. A lot of things can happen between now and then. Inviting Caffeinated 77 to sound off, and then we'll get to MIDI as well before we wrap things up on this Discord Friday. So Caffeinated 77, if you're still there, you can join and sound off. If not, I am going to invite MIDI to join. So, okay, Caffeinated 77, you are in. Good morning.
Good morning, Bishop. Hope everything's going good with you today. Hope I'm coming through okay.
You're coming through perfect, loud and clear.
Awesome. I am doing a little over 70 going down I-55 south, so this is good. This is good.
Right
no
on. That's
school neat. Internet interruptions here. And I think Discord is doing great. Everything is coming through really good on Discord.
No, I agree. And
honestly,
having come from terrestrial radio, listen, I did terrestrial radio for like 15 years. And one of the things that really drew me to it was hearing from the listeners. That's why I really wanted to get into talk radio. And then the news side of things came in. So when, all my news responsibilities started to stack up and I was working 15-hour days with 2 different jobs, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I just wanted to do something from my home office, but I didn't have the means to get the phone calls, but Discord was suggested and it's working great. So I'm glad it's working good for you guys too.
Absolutely. I just wanted to give you a shout out. I just want to say thank you so much for bringing this information. I've been quite a while, and easy to see how much viewership you're getting. And I know you're here for us. We're here. Well, we all remember that as well. I don't want to get into a bunch of stuff because I'm on the road, and I will go to the left field. Just want to say, great show, man. I just think that there's going to be some really good changes in Chicago with what you may or may not be getting ready to share, or what you did share on air yesterday with the woman in Chicago. Very, very upset, and I think it may change things for the better.
Yeah, and again, Caffeinated 77, I appreciate you chiming in and coming through good, even if you are on a mobile. So appreciate that. And I do really do appreciate you saying that you guys are here for me as well. And that means a lot. And I'm humbled by that. I really am. All right. One last call here. Mitty, you are up in the staging area, inviting you to sound off. So let's hear from you. Go ahead and take your phone off of mute, and there should be a button there, and you should be live now. Good morning.
I think I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. I really enjoy listening to your show. It's really entertaining and very informative.
Thank you.
I just got one question.
Sure.
Our illustrious governor has all these plans on how to get guns away from the honest people, the law-abiding citizens. Has anybody asked him what his plan is to get guns away from the criminals that are actually doing the shootings and breaking the laws?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they have various, law enforcement entities working together across the states, sharing information, trying to find where people are trafficking firearms to individuals who shouldn't have them. Listen, there are efforts to do that. But I think when people see social media videos of young people screaming and holding up firearms that are clearly, in the wrong hands, whether or not people go after those individuals, that type of thing is, you would think of some prevention.
What's the deterrent from them from using guns when they're only getting their hands slapped, especially in Chicago, and put back in the street again?
Yeah. Yeah.
They got to start giving them sentences that, match to what the crimes they commit.
Yeah, and when you have things like the Pretrial Fairness Act that ends cash bail for nonviolent offenses, if somebody's caught with, drugs and a gun, and illegal drugs and baggies that they're out slinging on the street, and then they have a, Glock with a switch and an extended magazine, what do you do? Do you arrest them, and then are they back out on the streets within hours, or how do you actually handle that? I think clearly there's some provisions of the law that others would like to see tweaked to ensure that people are actually going after crime rather than just looking the other way. Mitty, greatly appreciated. Anything else on your mind?
Nope, I think I said enough already.
Right on. I appreciate that.
You have a great day.
You too. And that's all we got for you here with Bishop on Air on this Friday. Really do appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. And we'll see you back here on Monday. All right. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll be back to rocking and rolling with you and letting you know what may have happened over the weekend. And we'll walk through all of next week with you. Here with Bishop on Air. All right. Appreciate it. Somebody asks, any updates on DeVore? I believe he's got a hearing in his case February 29th. And that's the case where he has an individual he wants the court to recognize as a public, a peace officer, right? And that's just one individual. What's going on with his other case in the appeals court to try to reinstate his gun ban challenges for the thousands of people as his clients. I'm not sure about that, but either way. All right, guys, appreciate it. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Get out there and enjoy the weather. We'll be back at it on Monday.